All right, welcome back to the DB Sports Channel. Today we're just going to be talking about the end of the regular season, the start of the NBA playoffs, including the play-in tournament, and the NBA awards and who we think should win them. I'm joined here with me by the B in DB Sports, who will be, yeah, he's here.
Okay, first thing I want to say is the play-in tournament, I think, has completely changed, like, the last 10 games of the NBA season. I think the NBA will continue to do the play-in, and I like the play-in. I think it makes people more competitive, and I think it's just fun for the fans to watch. And I think in the Western Conference, when the Lakers and Golden State Warriors match up, so many people are going to be watching that game. And my opinion is that the Lakers will win. Then they'll play the Suns. Then I think in Memphis and San Antonio, Memphis will win, and then the Golden State will beat Memphis. And in my opinion, I think losing to the Lakers could benefit the Warriors in the sense they would rather play Utah than Phoenix because, especially if Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley don't come back, they would rather play Utah because, one, they just beat Utah. I mean, I know they just beat the Suns, but I think they would have a lot better chance against Utah, and I think beating Memphis would be not that hard. What is your opinion?
Start back to like what you were beginning to say at the start of that little speech. I think the play-in tournament it's a pretty good. I think it's a good idea. Obviously, we haven't had time to see how it'll shake out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it'll be pretty good. Like you said, that'll be a pretty fun game to watch. A lot of people will be watching Curry and LeBron play to get for that seventh seed. Yeah, for the seventh seed. I think it's a cool idea, and yeah, I don't know about me. I think Utah, without Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley, they're definitely not as good as they would have been. But I still think Utah is someone who's tough to beat. They're going to be a good team, and I don't know who I'd want to face if I were the Warriors, either the Suns or the Jazz. But yeah, I still think what you said will be true. Actually, I don't. I disagree. I think the Warriors. I think the Warriors will beat the Lakers, and then the Lakers will probably beat whoever wins between Memphis and San Antonio. And I think Memphis will end up winning that game. And yeah, they'll play the Lakers and then probably lose. But yeah, that's how I think the play-in will shake up.
I I I agree with you because I can't really disagree with you with the way Steph Curry has been playing. Because on any given night he can get hot and beat any team. But I think it's going to depend on LeBron's health since he tweaked his re-aggravated his ankle during the game against the Pelicans, and whether Steph can manage to get hot and just be able to defeat mostly their defense, which has been dominant all year, even with LeBron and AD out. And I think the Warriors have actually been playing good defense, but we'll see if that they can keep LeBron and AD without going for a big game, or with keeping them from going for a big game.
Yeah, I think those will be pretty key. LeBron and AD's health and how they play after coming back. LeBron mostly coming back from injury, and he's played 2 games, but then as we've seen last night, as of time of recording, when they played New Orleans, he went down and looked like he tweaked his ankle. So yeah, I think that'll be pretty key pieces in who wins those games. And yeah, I agree that Steph Curry, he can just go off in any given night and win a game. I don't know how well that'll help for a 7-game series, but it'll still be very useful, at least for the play-in game. Okay, so
Yeah,
sorry, what were you gonna say?
the Warriors all year have had trouble rebounding the ball, and Andre Drummond has been grabbing so many offensive boards. And last game, Anthony Davis wasn't really good on the boards. Either was LeBron. But if they can fix that up and they get enough offensive rebounds, I think that will be the key because Warriors can't. They don't really have. I mean, they have Kevon Looney and Draymond as their best rebounders, but they're not really elite. So I think if they can get enough offensive rebounds, that'll be the key.
All right, yeah. So moving on from that specific part of the plan, let's talk more about the rest of the playoffs. So we have, as we've talked about, in the West, 9-10 being Memphis and San Antonio, and then 7-8 being Golden State and Los Angeles. How about in the East, where we have 9-10 being Indiana against Charlotte, and then 7-8 being Boston versus Washington? How do you think those games shake out?
I think that Charlotte will beat Indiana. Then I think Boston will lose to Washington, and then they'll go on to beat Charlotte.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I think that Charlotte can definitely beat Indiana. I think they will. I think it'll be a close game though. They're both teams that are about similar, at least record standpoint. But like as you know, record doesn't speak for everything. Still, I think that'll be a close game. And then Boston, Washington, I could see that going either way. But I still do think I have to give. I think I'd actually give the edge to Boston in this case. I just think they'll do better against Washington. I think that their rosters, like the way they match up, that the players on Boston will end up securing a victory. And then I think Washington will probably, if based on what I said about Charlotte and Indiana, I think Washington and Charlotte, that'll be a close game. I still think Charlotte will win, and I think the Charlotte will be the 8th seed playing against Philadelphia, and Boston will be 7th playing against Brooklyn. How about you?
I agree. I don't really agree with that, but I think the most realistic part of that is Boston beating Washington, because Jason Tatum, as we've seen this season, he hasn't performed like some people thought he would to the MVP level, but you can't like say, well, he's not playing good because you thought he was going to play on an MVP level, and he's playing really good this season. He dropped 60 in a game with the Spurs where they came back from like a 30-point deficit or something like that. And I think if he gets hot like that, and Bradley Beal last game didn't play great. Russell Westbrook has been playing very consistently for the last 20 games or whatever, and I think they do have a good chance, but I would say that Washington would beat them around 6 out of 4 times.
Okay.
No, sorry, 6 out of 10 times.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so now, aside from the play-in, how do you think these play-ins stand? How do you think the playoffs will shake out? We can start with the West. Based on our predictions, it'll probably be, well, it'll either be Los Angeles or Golden State against Utah, and same for Phoenix. We have Los Angeles, Clippers, Dallas, and then Denver, Portland. How do you think these series shake up, like, starting with Utah versus whoever you think will play them?
I think Utah will be played probably by Golden State. And I personally myself, if Mike Conley and Donovan Mitchell do not come back, I have Golden State beating the Utah Jazz.
Oh, you think you have that? Cool.
I have them beating in 7.
Yeah, I think I agree. Not exactly with the Golden State winning, but like I think Utah. I think it'll be a close series. Whoever Utah plays, if Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley don't come back for that series, it'll definitely be tighter. But Utah's still a good team, and I still think they'll win. I think they'll win in either 6 or 7, though. Okay. How do you think Phoenix versus?
I have the Lakers beating the Suns.
Sorry. Yeah. How do you feel about Lakers and Suns?
I have the Lakers beating the Suns. I have Denver beating Portland.
Okay. Oh, it looks like we've lost him. Sorry about that. That's bound to happen when we're dealing with internets. But yeah, I guess I'll talk to fill the space here until he comes back. All right, there he is. Sorry, you cut out for a while. Who do you think is gonna win, Phoenix and Los Angeles?
I think the Lakers are gonna beat them.
How far do you think that series is gonna go?
I'm gonna guess. I mean, of course, it all depends on AD and LeBron's health, but I'm going to guess 6 games.
Okay, you think they'll? All right, yeah. I disagree with you there. I think Phoenix, they're a pretty good team. Chris Paul has been playing very, very well, as Devin Booker. But still, there is a lack of playoff experience on Phoenix because I think they only have like a couple, like Chris Paul and like
And Jay Crowder.
yeah, Jay Crowder. Like there's like they're like the only two players on Phoenix who have like real playoff experience. So that obviously is very important. But it'll be fun to see how that shakes out with Devin Booker, his first playoff appearance ever. I think he will rise to the occasion. And I actually think if the Phoenix Suns play Los Angeles, I think the Phoenix Suns will win in maybe 6 or 7 again. It's going to be a close series, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Devin Booker. This is his first playoff, so we don't really know how he's gonna play. I mean, if he stays consistent on how he played in the regular season, I think they have a good chance of winning. But I would still take the Lakers over the Suns. But that's just my opinion, and still it all depends on LeBron's ankle mostly. But that's just my opinion. And for Denver and Portland, I think Denver will win in 5.
Yeah, I agree with you. Portland, they're a good team. I just think that Denver's better. I mean, like Denver, they have Nicola Yogic, Michael Porter Jr. I mean, matched up against them would be CJ. Probably Portland's best two players would be CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard, who I think will be very good. I think it'll be. I don't know if they'll win in 5. I'd say Denver will win in either 5 or 6. I think this will be less close than the other two series that we've talked about, but I still think Denver's going to win because they have the MVP, or at least my choice in MVP, in Nikola Jokic, and arguably either the second or third best player in that series with Michael Porter Jr., who we've seen has been having a tremendous season this year. He's really grown as a player, and I think he'll, as we've seen, like when Jamal Murray went down, Michael Porter Jr. has rose to the occasion and stepped up and fulfills his role and helps the Nuggets get to this place. So I think he'll play really well in this series, and I think that's why the Nuggets will beat the Blazers in either 5 or 6.
I think the thing that kind of I question about the Nuggets is last year having Jamal Murray was a big boost. But I know Nikola Jokic has stepped up this year in the regular season. We'll just have to see how he plays in the postseason. But I think he'll continue his play, and he'll. I think they will win 5, and then Clippers in Dallas. I'm gonna have to go with Clippers in 4.
Oh, you think it's gonna be a sweep?
I think it's gonna be a sweep just because Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are gonna have a chip on their shoulders with Serge Ibaka. All the guys they got on that team. Rajon Rondo has so much playoff experience. DeMarcus Cousins, Marcus Morris. Those guys can. I mean, Dallas has Luka Doncic, and then Jalen Brunson, who's on the bench.
Kristaps Porzingis, but
isn't he injured though?
Yeah, he's currently injured. He might make a return. I think he's returned. He's planning on returning soon, but yeah, he is. He's definitely he's a big factor for how well the Dallas Mavericks do. I'd say with Porzingis, if Porzingis was playing fully healthy, well, I'd still say the Clippers won, but like last year until like the Clippers, they got lucky that Kristaps Porzingis got hurt because until then. The Mavericks were playing really well against them, and it looked like they could actually win that. They could win that series in 5. It looked like, and then Kristaps Porzingis got hurt, and then it was kind of over for the Mavericks. But yeah, so I think Kristaps Porzingis. The Mavericks depend how the Mavericks do really depends on him.
Yeah, I don't know if he's coming back though, but if he does, I have the Clippers winning in 7.
He cut out again. Sorry about that. But yeah, so I think bouncing back to the Nuggets. I know you can't hear me, but bouncing back to the Nuggets. The Nuggets, a big part of how the Nuggets will do against the Portland Trailblazers is the depth at guard position because, as you know, Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum are really good guards, and the Nuggets are missing a Jamal Murray, Will Barton, and other players who would have been PJ Dozier, who would have been nice to have playing against Dame and CJ. All right, now you're back. Sorry, you cut out again. We can go back to the Dallas and Los Angeles. So you think?
If Kristaps Porzingis plays the type of basketball that he generally plays, I think that Dallas will win in 7.
Oh, okay. I think if Kristaps Porzingis is playing like at his level that he usually does, I still pick the Clippers in probably 5 or 6 though, because the Clippers they've improved from last season with additions to the team like Rajon Rondo, DeMarcus Cousins. These have been improvements as we've seen through this season, and I think like a lot of problems with last year's Clippers is like they didn't have a floor general, which they now have in Rajon Rondo, who can really help a team in managing the.
Yeah. I agree with you with the lack of playmaking that they had last year, and the fact how much Rajon Rondo changes their chemistry and their dynamic of how they run their offense, and it's a much better offense now. And with Serge Ibaka coming back, they're going to be really good. But last year it seemed like they matched up really well against the Clippers, and I think that if they use the same mentality have the same mentality that Luka had, and if Kristaps Porzingis feels.
Oh, Andrew gone again. We might need to work on this, but yeah. So until he gets back, I guess I'll move on to the next series and last series in the West. Wait, no, we already talked about them, so that is all the series. That's all the series in the West. We can start talking about the East now. So, look, are you back?
Yeah.
Okay. I was just saying we can move on to the East. We talked about all the series in the West. Let's start with Philadelphia versus who we thought would be Boston or Charlotte, who we thought was going to play, or Washington. How do you think that works?
I think if they play Charlotte, it's a sweep. I think if they play Boston, they win in 5.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think Philadelphia is definitely winning in 4 or 5 against almost whoever they play, be it Boston, Washington, Charlotte, or Indiana. No matter who they play, I think they're going to either win in 4 or 5.
I definitely.
Yeah, because Joel Embiid, he's just been playing really well this year, MVP candidate. But yeah, until he got injured, he was a serious MVP, like strongly up front MVP candidate in his time. But still, yeah, I think the Sixers are gonna beat whoever they play in the first round at least. All right, next we can move on to Brooklyn. They'll either play Boston, Washington, Charlotte, or Indiana.
I have them playing Washington, but I think they'll win in 5 against Washington. Yeah. If that's who they play, I think they'll sweep anybody else.
Yeah, I think that I agree with that too. I agree. So basically everything I said about Philadelphia, I think that'll also apply to Brooklyn, whoever they play in the first round. Though it does also depend on like if their 3 main stars are playing together. I think that'll really depend on how they do, especially further into the playoffs.
Yeah. I have the Knicks winning in 6 over the Hawks.
Okay, yeah. Again, with the Knicks and Hawks, I definitely think the Knicks are going to win. Though playoff experience will be pretty much a factor for both. Lack of playoff experience will be a factor for both of them, seeing as the Knicks haven't been in the playoffs in a very long time, like 20 plus years. No, not 20 plus. I'm getting something mixed up. I think that was
like 10 years.
Yeah, I don't know why I was mixing up my facts, but either way, the Knicks and Atlanta both haven't been in the playoffs in a while, so I think playoff experience will be. It'll affect both sides, but I still think that the Knicks, like with their definitely top 3. I can't remember if they're 1, 2, or 3. I think they're number 1, but like with their top tier defense, I think that'll prove to be too much for the Hawks, and I think the Knicks are gonna win in like 5 or 6.
Yeah, and they match up pretty well against them in the regular seasons, right? I just think they're like you said, their defense players are better. I think they just have a better all around skill. Defensively, offensively, I would say the Hawks, but
oh man, you cut out again. Whew. Yeah, we really need to get this fixed, but Yeah, we'll go back to the Knicks and Hawks until he comes back. So I think the most interesting series, at least in the first round, will be Miami versus Milwaukee. Last year we saw.
I agree.
You agree with what?
Miami versus Milwaukee. I don't even know. I don't know who I have coming out of that because Milwaukee and Miami matched up last year. I know Giannis was injured for some of it, and I know that Milwaukee has made improvements, adding Drew Holiday. Chris Middleton's, I think, arguably playing better than last year. Giannis is playing really good. Not an MVP, but defensive player of the year. But he's still playing really well, about the same level as last year. And as long as he doesn't get hurt, as long as he doesn't get hurt, as long as Chris Middleton plays good, Drew Holiday plays good, I have them winning in 7.
Yeah, I think this will be a really close series. As we saw last year, it wasn't actually close. Miami 1-5, but that was also there were also different teams. Milwaukee made the addition of Drew Holiday, which I think definitely benefits them. Miami still we cannot count them out because Miami they're the defending Eastern Conference champions. They're really good team. They've had pretty good year this year. And Bam Adebayo's defense on Giannis will be a pretty big key because well, Bam Adebayo isn't necessarily exactly in the defensive player of the year running, but like he's not like gonna win it, but like he's still played tremendously well defensively, and he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. So I think he's Miami's best chance of slowing down Giannis. You saw how we did it last year. But both players, Giannis and Bam, have both made improvements, and yeah, I think that'll be a pretty big key part to this series. How Bam plays Giannis and vice versa.
Yeah, I agree. But moving past that, I don't know who I have from Milwaukee or Brooklyn. I think Giannis will dominate in the paint, but the Brooklyn Nets have so much offensive power that, I mean, can you really say that they're going to lose a series?
Yeah, I see you're moving on to the next round. So I guess that's a good transition time too. So we can now talk about instead of going through each series like we did that time, because we don't know who's gonna win and stuff like that, and what's even gonna shake out. We'll just talk about who we think is gonna win East, West, and win it all now. So, what's your take for the West, East, and champions?
I think I have coming out of the East. I have Philadelphia.
Why is that?
I think that Joel Embiid's defense on Giannis, if the Milwaukee Bucks get past Brooklyn, I think they'll get past Brooklyn because they had a back-to-back with Milwaukee, lost them both. I know James Harden wasn't playing, but I still think that's a pretty big deal, losing both to a team that you're probably going to see in the playoffs.
Yeah, because if they both win in the first round, they will see each other.
Yeah, then I think Joel Embiid's defense on Giannis will be key because of his paint, shot blocking ability, and Giannis's amazing ability to get in the paint and do his thing.
Yes,
but I think also Ben Simmons will be key, on Chris Middleton. His defense on Chris Middleton will be key. If he goes Chris Middleton, he might go Drew Holiday. I don't know, but I think
he might even spend some time guarding Giannis.
Yeah, I know, but I think it'll be a smarter move to have him on Chris Middleton because of his ability to light it up from deep, and his overall scoring ability is very high. So I think Giannis is higher, but I think it'd be better to have a big man on big man and then Ben Simmons on Chris Middleton.
Yeah. Sorry, what?
And then I think Tobias Harris has been playing well. Steph Curry has actually been playing really good, and then I think those are probably the main guys that have been playing really well, but I still think that they will win. But that's only if Milwaukee gets past Brooklyn, which I'm assuming they will, but I can't say for sure.
Yeah. I guess in the East, I'd agree. I think Philadelphia's coming out of the East too. But I'm kind of torn. Like it's really tough to see. I could either see Philadelphia, Milwaukee, or Brooklyn as my top three.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go with Philadelphia, and then Brooklyn, then Milwaukee. I guess that's also in their standings, but still, I think Philadelphia's gonna win because there's Ben Simmons who's been playing. Who's a defensive player of the year candidate. He's been playing great defense this season. Joel Embiid, an MVP candidate, has been playing great this season too, and I just don't see like how other teams are gonna have like many answers to guard Joel Embiid and like stop him. And if Joel Embiid can like get hit, like if Joel Embiid will most definitely get his points. Like if Ben Simmons and like the players around them can also contribute to the scoring and as well as playing great defense, I don't really see many teams that can knock out Philadelphia in a 7-game series. All right.
Yeah.
Moving on to the West. I guess I kind of have two takes for this. My one is just a biased take because probably biased, but also kind of reasonable because I'm a Nuggets fan. I think the Nuggets are going to come out of the West in my biased take. I also see how they could do this because like I definitely think they're going to beat Portland, and then they'll play Phoenix, Golden State, Golden State or Los Angeles. And I think if Phoenix comes out of there, I think Denver's going to beat them as well as Golden State or Los Angeles. I definitely think that Denver could beat them because it all resides down to Nicola Yogic and how he plays because he's the MVP this year at least I think, and he can play. We all know he can play really well. Not having Jamal Murray is definitely not as it's definitely not wanted. Like Jamal Murray definitely helps them, but even without him, we've seen like the Nuggets. They played really well without him. Players are stepping up. Michael Porter Jr. specifically, and I think like that duo and as well as the people around them can like really make them go into a deep playoff push. So I definitely see like they could. I do definitely see that they could make it out of the West. And then other than that, I think I'd say Los Angeles Clippers because just like how their team is built, and I think like they'll do really well. Like they were supposed to do really well last year. That didn't happen. Obviously, the Nuggets knocked them out after coming back from 3-1. But then after that, they've added Rajon Rondo as we've seen, and like that definitely helps the team. And I think that's a really key improvement for them. So that's why I think like they can. I definitely think they're going to beat Dallas, and then whoever Utah or Los Angeles or San Antonio or Memphis, whoever they play in the second round, I think they'll win. And then whoever they play the third, in the Western Conference Finals, I think they also have a chance of winning. So those are my two teams out of the West.
Okay, I don't agree with you with the Nuggets, but I agree with you with some of it in the sense like the Clippers, how well they've been playing, and the Denver Nuggets might face them in the conference finals if they got that far. But the thing about that is there's a team in the West that can win a championship if they not if they play it right, but if their injuries go right, they can have a very good chance at winning a championship. And I don't think that any team right now will be able to stop them or maybe even take them to a 7-game. I mean, I think some teams will take them to a 7-game series. Like last year, I'm talking about the Lakers, by the way. Last year, no one took them to a 7-game series. But if their injuries are okay, I think that they will come out of the West and win the championship against the 76ers. I think they'll beat the Nuggets because, one, Jamal Murray is gone. He tore his ACL, and he was a big factor in last year's playoffs against the Lakers. Even though the Lakers won in 5, I think LeBron's got that mentality that he's chasing Jordan right now. If he gets one more chip, that race is gonna get a lot closer, and I think he's very motivated to get one more title. I think Anthony Davis will. Anthony Davis is kind of a question mark in the sense he's injury prone. He's not. He hasn't been playing great this season, but I think he did beat the Nuggets though. Him alone pretty much him alone. I mean, he had the Lakers' other squad, but LeBron wasn't playing. So I think him alone pretty much beat the Nuggets roster, and I mean, that happened, and I think with LeBron James on the floor, healthy and playing good, I think they will beat the Nuggets probably in 6, maybe even 5.
Wow, that's just disrespectful, and I'm going to pretend you didn't say any of that. All right, moving on. As we've spent a lot of time on the playoffs, which is an important thing, but still, kind of running out of time. But now we will talk about the NBA awards for this year. Starting off with MVP.
Wait. You haven't shared. Wait, you haven't told us who you think would win the championship.
Oh yeah. Nuggets or Clippers. I think the Nuggets or Clippers would win. I think whichever one of those teams did face off Philadelphia, I think they'd still beat Philadelphia. As good as Philadelphia is, I just still think the Nuggets and Clippers, whoever ends up playing them, would defeat them. I just think they're a better team. Because, like, if it was the Nuggets, I think Nicola Yogic against Joel Embiid would be a pretty fun matchup to watch. I think Nicola Yogic would win said matchup. As we've seen, like, in regular season games, not as much this season actually, because whenever like the Nuggets played them, like Joel Embiid was hurt or like in COVID protocol, so they didn't actually face off much this regular season. So all we have is really like last season, and in those seasons, Nikola Jokic has shown that like his proofs like in those games, like Nikola Jokic won them and played better than Embiid. So I think if that was a direct matchup, I think Nikola Jokic would be better. So that's why I think the Nuggets could win. Michael Porter Jr. is also a big part of that, and then Aaron Gordon and the supporting cast of the Nuggets. I think they would just be eventually too much for the 76ers. I think that series would go to 7, though. I think it would be a really close series, maybe like 6 or 7. Probably not 6, but I think it would go to 7. If the Clippers were to play them, I think that the Clippers would just overall be too much for them. I mean, Joel Embiid, he'd score a lot of points. Because he'd be guarded by Zubac. But I think just the rest of the Clippers would, like, because they have Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Rajon Rondo. I think that would just be too much for the rest of the Sixers to stop. And I also think it would go to 7 for them too, but I still think the Clippers will win. Okay. So now to the NBA awards. We have MVP first. Okay, let's go with that. I have Nikola Jokic as number 1. Joel Embiid is number 2. Steph Curry is number 3. Chris Paul is my number 4, and Giannis is my number 5. The reason being for that is says Nikola Jokic at number 1. Nikola Jokic is my MVP because he's played every single game of the year, which is a key factor. So I think that also helps him put above Joel Embiid and some of the other players. He's played every single game of the year. On those games, he's played incredibly well, averaging almost a triple-double, but then that sort of slipped during like the end of the season, but still is really well. He's averaging a double-double at least. Only slightly less points than Joel Embiid, and much more assists than Joel Embiid, so I think that's why he's number 1. Also, the fact that he's played every single game and other players have not. So, how about you? Who's your MVPs?
MVP, I have Nikola Jokic. And my reason for that is, one, you mentioned it. He's played every game this season. He hasn't had. He might have had an injury, but he either fought through it or just didn't have one. He's been probably the best passing big man right now. He's, like you said, almost averaging a triple-double. I think 8.3 assists, and then what is it? 26 points a game with 11 boards or something like that, and he's been playing phenomenal. His team's record is good. After Jamal Murray went down, he still kept his team playing well. I think it will be a tight race because the way that other players are playing, I think it will be a tight race. I think he is going to win. Then my second, I have Steph Curry, and my reasoning for that is, 1, his points production, leading the league in scoring. 2, his efficiency has been really good. the records he has broken, which doesn't really matter, but it's still very impressive. Then I think another reason is he's been able to keep his team in the playoffs with very little people for his supporting cast. I know he has Draymond, I know he has Wiggins, but Kelly Oubre's been injured for a little while. Wiggins hasn't been playing consistent. Draymond isn't a good second scorer. I mean, he's a great playmaker, but he's not a good scorer. They need a secondary scorer. But that's my reasoning for Steph at number 2. Number 3, I have Joel Embiid. My reasoning for that is he's just been playing phenomenal, super dominant defensively and offensively. I think that no team can. I don't think any of these players, any team can contain him. But Embiid's just so strong in the paint and so dominant that I think he deserves to be somewhere on this ballot of MVP. And I have him at 3rd. At 4th, I have Giannis for kind of the same reasons as Embiid, but a little. He's been also dominant offensively and defensively. I think those are the best kind of players, two-way players. Then I have at my 5th spot. It's kind of open. I have Chris Paul there, but there's a lot of players that I could put at the 5th. Luka Doncic. So I think some people have Damian Lillard there. But I have Chris Paul because of his ability to make his team better. Last year they weren't even in the playoffs, and now they're the 2nd seed. He has been playing great basketball. I know his stats don't say his points production doesn't say that he's been playing MVP level, but it's more than just basketball and what he's doing for his team, and I think he deserves some credit for that, and that's why I have him at 5th.
All right. Now we'll move on to Defensive Player of the Year. For me, I have Ben Simmons at number 1, Rudy Gobert at number 2, and then number 3, Draymond Green. The reason I have Ben Simmons above Rudy Gobert is it's very close, but I think, as Ben Simmons said himself, actually, he can guard 1 through 5. A bit of a stretch at the 5, but still, he can do it. Well, Rudy Gobert, if he was trying to guard 1 through 5, they could be, other teams could exploit that weakness, taking Rudy Gobert out to the free 3-point line, which we've seen he struggles defensively there. He's an anchor in the post, but that's why I have Ben Simmons, because he can play really good defense and do it on multiple and pretty much every position. So that's why I have Ben Simmons at number 1.
I agree with you. Ben Simmons, I have at number 1 as well. He's been playing. He can go. I would say he can go 1 through 4, but occasionally he can go a center. He's been playing really good defense, all around on any player. But Rudy Gobert is a close second with his ability to go centers and his presence in the paint. But my 3rd is also Draymond. But the thing about Draymond is he can actually guard 1 through 5. Ben Simmons can guard 1 through 4, like I said, occasionally 5. But Draymond Green can effectively guard 1 through 5. And he's been playing good defense, so I think it could go either way between those 3 players. I don't really see Draymond winning, but I could see Ben Simmons or Rudy Gobert winning the award.
All right. Now we go for the Rookie of the Year. This one's kind of easy for me. I have, it wasn't as easy earlier, a couple weeks ago, but I have number 1, LaMelo Ball, number 2, Anthony Edwards, and number 3, Tyrese Haliburton. LaMelo Ball because LaMelo Ball over Anthony Edwards, even though LaMelo Ball has missed significant time. When LaMelo Ball has been out there, he's had such a high impact on the Charlotte Hornets. He's taken them to the playoffs, albeit the play-in, but that's mostly they slipped when he was injured because he had him at the number 4 seed in the East for a time. But he's played really well with them, and he's had a higher impact, and he's winning. He's actually they're actually winning, so that's why he's more valuable to the Hornets because he's getting them winning. For the longest time, the Timberwolves they've been playing they hadn't been getting any pretty much any wins. for a time, like when the Rockets went on their 20-game losing streak, they were still ahead of the Timberwolves. So like winning does especially count, especially here when it's so different. How much they are winning. So that's why I have LaMelo over Anthony Edwards.
I agree with literally just about everything you said. Charlotte's in the play-in tournament. Timberwolves aren't even close to being in the play-in tournament. Like you said a couple weeks ago, it was a lot closer with the LaMelo having his injury. He broke his left wrist, if I'm right. Fractured. Then Anthony Edwards has been putting up really good points. I think better than LaMelo, but LaMelo has impacted winning from day one. He obviously lost some times with that wrist, but he came back from his injury very quickly. He's been a good playmaker. He's been just pretty dominant all around. He's the youngest player to ever get a triple-double, I believe, and I think that's just what helps him win the award.
Okay. Our next award will be for the most improved player. For me, I have number 1, Julius Randle, number 2, Jeremy Grant, and number 3, Christian Wood. Jeremy Grant and Christian Wood are really close. I'm putting Jeremy Grant ahead mostly because he's played more games than Christian Wood, and like they're both on pretty bad teams. Both at the bottom of their respective conferences. But still, I have Jeremy Grant ahead. The reason I have Julius Randle above Jeremy Grant is because Jeremy Grant has made a giant leap. It's kind of to be expected when you're transitioning from a playoff team, especially the Nuggets, who were in the Western Conference Finals last year, to a team that was finished last year. So he's going to have a higher usage, which is probably why he's sets increased tremendously. But it's not to take anything away from him. He has played exceptionally well this year. He's played incredibly, and yeah, but I still have Julius Randle above him because Julius Randle, with his height, he has been playing a lot, but like with those minutes, like Julius Randle has been making the most of them and taking the Knicks to the playoffs for the first time in a long time.
I agree with you. I mean, you can't really disagree with the way Julius Randle's been playing. Jeremy Grant's been playing well, just not good enough to beat Julius Randle. And Christian Wood has missed a lot of games. That's why I put him behind Jeremy Grant. And I think just about all of it is pretty realistic and easy to pick for me.
Yeah. Okay. So pretty similar there for both of us. Last for the players of the awards, Sixth Man of the Year. I have number 1, Joe Ingles, number 2, Jordan Clarkson, and number 3, Jalen Brunson. 2 players on the Jazz. It's kind of interesting. But Joe Ingles has been playing incredibly this year. He's been shooting the ball at an incredible percentage from beyond the arc, and has been all around playing very well. Jordan Clarkson, I would have had him higher, but like recently he has started to slip in like the last month or two. And Jalen Brunson, he has been playing incredibly well for Dallas. I'm not forgetting that, right? Dallas, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. He's been playing incredibly well for Dallas, and even though he's been doing that, I just think that Jones and Jordan Clarkson have just been playing better, and their play has translated to more winning.
Yeah, I don't agree with you with having Joe Ingles above Jordan Clarkson. I still have Jordan Clarkson number 1, Joe Ingles number 2, and Jalen Brunson number 3. But I do see where you're coming from Jordan Clarkson kind of slipping in the last month or so. The way Joe Ingles has been shooting, the way he's been playing, has been very elite. But they're on the same team, so you can't really use conference or anything like that against them, or like seed or anything like that again, like to measure their skill because they're on the same team. But I would have to give the award to Jordan Clarkson because of his just ability to score the ball, his creating the shot for himself. Not really a great playmaker, but he can pass the ball, and I just think that he wins the award.
Yeah, I think it's really close too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so almost second to last, we have Coach of the Year. I have number 1 Tom Thibodeau, number 2 Monty Williams, and number 3 Quinn Snyder. The reason I have Tom Thibodeau at the highest is because he's done an excellent job in creating like one of the best defenses in the NBA, helping the Knicks get back into the playoffs. A lot of that's because of his coaching and how he is like helped build the team. I mean, I know the DM does a lot of that too, but like how he's helped build the team and how he's coached the team is also really a big reason for why they've been having this success and how they've gotten back to the playoffs. The reason I have Monty Williams of the Phoenix Suns as number 2.
I have Tom Thibodeau number 1, Monty Williams number 2, and I think number 3 is kind of up for grabs. I mean, the Jazz have been playing well, but
he's been cutting out. That's why he didn't hear.
The way the Atlanta Hawks have actually been playing, their new coach has been playing good. Doc Rivers actually has been playing. His team has been playing well. The way that Embiid has made that jump, the way that Ben Simmons has made that jump defensively, the way that Steph Curry has made the jump, the way that Tobias Harris has made the leap, I think it really puts him in contention. I have Doc Rivers third.
Okay. Sorry. I think you cut out because that's why we didn't hear you for a while. But I don't know if you heard me, but maybe that's why you thought I stopped. But either way, so that's what were your coaches of the year again? You had in what order?
I had I have what's that? You're cutting out.
I'm not speaking.
Oh, okay. I have obviously Doc Rivers third. I have Monty Williams second, and then I have Tom Thibodeau number 1. I feel like Tom Thibodeau is pretty obvious because the way he's been coaching his team, the way that Julius Randle has probably will be the most improved player. That's just my opinion. Then the reason I have Doc Rivers third is because the way his team has been playing. The way that Embiid became much better this year. Tobias Harris, Steph Curry. Ben Simmons hasn't really been playing that much better offensively, but defensively he's been playing better. I think that's a big reason that they've. Oh, also Dwight Howard has found a real good situation in Philadelphia. So I just think they, he just kind of coached his team into want to come back for his success after blowing a 3-1 lead, and then for his team that now is after a real contender.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So those are your choices. I had number 2 being Monty Williams for the Phoenix Suns. Because of how he's transformed the Phoenix Suns into a more winning organization. Part of that is because CP3 has joined them, but still, a big part of that you have to give credit to Monty Williams for turning them around. And number 3, I have Quinn Snyder, because mostly just because he's coached the Jazz very well and to the best record of the NBA right now at 52-20.
Yeah.
Right. And last but not least, we have our all-NBA teams. I only decided to do my first team this time. Maybe I'll do this second and third later. But for my first team, for my guards, I have Steph Curry and Chris Paul. For my forwards, I have Giannis and Kawhi. And then for my center, I have Nicola Yogic. Reason being, Steph Curry, he's been playing amazing. He's an MVP candidate, as well as Chris Paul. They've just been playing. They've just had really good seasons this year. Steph Curry, as you saw, like in the month of April, setting multiple records. He became also this year. He's the scoring leader. He became like the oldest player since, he's like the oldest player like to do it as well, like since Michael Jordan, who's like tied, I think, like at 33 years old to be the oldest scoring leader for the season. I picked Chris Paul because he's really helped the Suns turn around and turn into a winning franchise. Because I mean, the Suns are close to the same team they were last year. Obviously, that's different, but like Chris Paul is really is like the main reason that they've really turned around. And then for my forwards, I have Giannis, an MVP candidate. You can just watch him playing; like he's a clear choice here because the way he's just dominating and how he's been getting points and helping Bucks win. I have Kawhi Leonard as my other forward because, he's playing really well on the Clippers. He's missed some time, but he's just been playing. He's just had a really good impact on the Clippers. And finally, center Nicola Yogic. He's the MVP, so I mean, it wouldn't really make sense if he wasn't on the NBA first team. So that's all the reasons I said he's like MVP. That's why he's on the first team for center. What is your first team?
I have Steph Curry because.
Are you there? Oh, okay. I guess we'll just wait for him. In the meantime, yeah, I don't know what to really fill the space with other than my voice, and I'm kind of just blathering on until B Ballin comes back on. Yeah, it's kind of awkward. Maybe I'll put some. No. All right. I'll just talk about the NBA a bit. So yeah, my first team. I've told you why I think they're there.
You there?
Oh, all right. You're back. You're back. All right. You
Yeah.
can tell us about
Okay,
your first team.
So my first team is Steph Curry for obvious reasons. You mentioned most of them. The records he's been setting, the points production.
Dang, your internet's messed up at the moment. I guess we'll just never know his first team. All right. So, are you back?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
been going.
You had Curry. Who else?
Chris Paul.
All right.
For the reasons, I mean, he's just been playing phenomenally. Then I have Giannis.
Yes.
Obvious reasons, but some people don't like him this year because of the way he played in last year's playoffs. So I'll just say them. He's been super dominant offensively, defensively. His team is winning, which is very important. He is maybe the best forward in the league. He's just all around great. He needs to work on that jump shot, but he's still so dominant without it. Then, for my other forward, I actually have Julius Randle here, and I know some people have Kawhi here or KD. I can't put KD just because of how much time he's missed, and the reason I have Julius Randle over Kawhi is Kawhi's haven't been having a great season. I mean, he's having a good season, but compared to his other seasons, it's not very good. I feel like Julius Randle has been playing better, and if you look at their comparing teams, there's nothing really spectacular about the Knicks and on the Clippers. You have Paul George, Serge Ibaka, Patrick Beverley, Rajon Rondo, DeMarcus Cousins. You got those guys who can really really score, or really pass, or really.
Oh man, your internet is out again. You need to do something about that. I know you can't hear me, but okay. So I think he was. All right, you're back. So you were telling us about your forwards. Yeah, you're telling us about Julius Randle.
Yeah, okay. I said Julius Randle over Kawhi, just because I feel like he's been playing better. If you look at their comparing squads, the Clippers is obviously much better. I think Julius Randle will not play as well in the playoffs as Kawhi will, but I think in the regular season, Julius Randle
All right. I guess we'll have to finish this discussion later. This is getting really long. But yeah, so thanks for listening in. If you actually, I doubt many people will be here right now. We're pretty small at the moment, and we might still be small. But either way, thank you for watching this.
You there?
Yeah, I'm just doing the conclusion. So yeah, thanks for watching this. It's been pretty long, and yeah, see you in the next video.